Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8. This is Sheraya Walker. I am from Buffalo, New York. I have a new topic. This is episode 8, like I mentioned, and I'm thankful that you guys have joined and been a part of. I got 19 subscribers, so definitely spread the word, share this topic, and if you hit home to you. So, the topic of today is do things with a purpose. What I mean by that is that when you're doing things in life, do it with the purpose of making sure that it's going to elevate your life. So many people just do things just to do things. Oh, like two of the mentees that are graduating come tomorrow. They're about to get into the transition of adult life slash if they're going to college or trade school or just figuring out life in general. And I says, okay, well, how much do you want to make? What goals do you want to accomplish, and everything. And that's building their climax of how they're gonna juggle their life and time. You can't do everything at once, and I've figured that you got to do it with a purpose. You got to have a concept behind it. You got to reverse engineer. So if, prime example, two of the mentees want to get their driver's license, then they basically got to first figure out what's the stages to get their license, and then they got to figure out how much it's going to cost. Then they got to figure out if whether one just needs to just go to driving class, few driving classes, then take the test because they already got his permit set, already got a permit 5 hour course. The other one has to go through the whole process, so she has to figure out first things first. For what's the last thing she got to do, all the way to the first thing she got to do, and then build up. So she has to pass her permit, pass her 5 hour course, and then she has to take a few driving classes, and then pass the road test. And then when it comes to finances, what do you could just like, I just need to make money. But there's no real gut feeling behind it. There's nothing. Everybody wants money in their pocket, but what are you doing? Like the job that I'm doing right now, it's with collections. But I'm doing it behind a purpose to build a skill, build a sales skill, to get more frequent with understanding sales, under basically getting a tougher gut of how it's important is to be attainable to other people, other customers with different personalities. So it really helps me with that skill. I was reading Robert Kiyosaki earlier with Rich Dad Poor Dad earlier this month, and his dad didn't like the fact that he just didn't get any type of job, even though he had his college degree. But that was his poor dad. His rich dad understood what he was doing because he was getting a skill from the military for leadership. He was getting pilot to understand different factors of what is it when you're doing exports, understanding the different imports and exports with businesses and stuff like that when he was doing this shipping job. So he did everything with a purpose. He wasn't just doing things just doing things. When you're building a skill, you shouldn't just be like, oh, well, I'm just doing this job just to be doing it because it pays the bills. This is what's wrong with this economy right now, is because we're just focusing on just doing things just because instead of with a purpose. And we got to have more meat behind why we're doing the things we do. I remember reading a post from my Facebook about a year ago or a few years ago when a friend of mine, Fatima, she's a fellow entrepreneur. She says have an expiration date when you want to leave a job if you're an entrepreneur. And that always triggered on me, and that was a great reminder, because when you're doing a job because, well, you're just trying to you're in survival mode, so you got to do what you got to do. Me, I would go get, if I had to basically hit rock bottom right now and didn't have no money in my position, I'm going to get a job. I'm not going to go to unemployment line. I'm going to go to the job, and I'm basically do that job that I may be so overqualified for until I get to a certain better position. I'm gonna make sure I get a car back on the road. I'm gonna make sure my bills is paid ahead. I'm gonna make sure this is paid ahead. And then once I get to that point, I'm gonna basically leave that job and then go back to my business. I'm gonna leave that job or find another better paying job, and that's gonna elevate me better. Like the job I got right now, there's an opportunity that just landed right on top of my lap this past weekend and stuff. I really believe that I may get that job. And that's going to basically take the stuff that I learned from my current employer to the next level, and the job and all the books that I've read from 10x rule to Rich Dad Poor Dad to Expert Secrets. You definitely need to read this book. If you haven't read this book, I'm gonna drop a link. It's only $8. You need to read it and stuff like that. I'll drop you my link, and you can you can really read that book, get engaged, and see how you can lead others to understand your mass movement and acquire how you can be more of an impact than others, and how you can show your stories. Because I'm doing this YouTube live with the purpose of igniting people's passion into reality so that they can live the life that they deserve. And I really humbly believe that we don't know, some people just don't know where to start. So that's where the starting point. I've had 3 or 4 one-on-ones with my Passion Warrior group, and within this past few weeks, and it's always about the starting point. So how are you going to start, and where do you want to where your destination wants to be? And that's how you're going to acquire your purpose in life. Because sometimes people just don't know where to start. Some people are just doing and getting up, and stuff. And that got to change. That comes with the concept of knowing to take yourself first, of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. What's your routine? Yes, right now I could be chilling. I just chilling at home, not doing nothing, playing on the phone, sleeping. But instead, I'm on the live because I want you guys to be engaged with me, understand where I'm coming from, how I can add value to you, how you can be engaged, and everything. So I want to give you a few more examples of things that to do with a purpose. When you have a job, have a skill, do the job to build a skill. Even if you're doing fast food, learn how to be patient with people. You could learn how to be patient with people. You can learn how to be more on top of things, how to be more quick decision maker and stuff. That's one thing with fast food, fast, get it? And stuff like that. So definitely that's something that I would recommend as far as when it comes to a job, whether it's more elevated and more complex to something that's more simplified, of doing cashier and doing just customer service. You just got to know how to be a quick thinker, so every job you can learn something from it. But some people just like, it's a job, but take the root of what's the purpose behind that job, and you will learn something, and it will be a part of your life journey and everything. Another thing is networking events. If you want to go to network events, don't just go to network events just to go to network events. Go to network events to build your support system. I tell people all the time that's real close to me. I said, if you can't borrow $100 from 10 of your friends, most likely you should be able to do it with one. But if you can't borrow $100 from 10 of your friends, 10 of your family members, or a collective of, you just need $100 from 10 people, and you don't have one person, you need to start building a network system. Real talk. Because I remember when I was sick back in April 13th, 2018 of last year, I was super, super sick. And I didn't have a quarter to my name. And I just text 10 of my friends, and they're like, I just need $100. What can you spare? I didn't expect to get not only 100, but a couple of thousand and stuff like that. And yeah, I got a little debt, but that showed how strong my network system was. And that showed that if I do things within a purpose, people are going to see, regardless, of what I'm doing and stuff, people see how much I am who I say I am, because the purpose that I walk in life each and every day and stuff. Then doing this YouTube channel. Why did I start this YouTube channel? I started this YouTube channel because I wanted a newer following, a expanded following, and this is something I always wanted to do. I'm definitely in the process of eventually being a passion speaker. I don't like really calling myself a motivational speaker because, one, there's a lot of them, and then two, motivation is BS. People need to be motivated themselves. Like my homeboy LeBron James, he says he doesn't need motivation. So he doesn't need wifey to motivate him. He does what he does because he has passion, and he has his nonprofits with his school back in Ohio because he loves what he does. He does basketball. He doesn't need his wife to push him, to wake him up and everything like that. Even when he failed a few of his championships, he didn't have his wife push him back. He got back up and said, you know what, I still got life to live. I got my kids to take care of. I got my kids to see grow up, and I don't need to be wallowing and being in disarray. I got to snap out of it. And that's the same thing when it comes to my depression, and stuff like that. When I was in a depression mode, a few times in my life and stuff. It took on me to get out of it. I can basically talk to people all day long, but it has to be on me to basically just like, you know what, it's time to snap out of it and get to going. And that's how you acquire doing things better, is having a purpose. Then reading books. This is the current book I'm reading right now. Like I said, I'll drop the link afterwards. Expert Secrets. That's one of the book. That's the current book I'm reading right now. When you're reading a book, you're reading a book to educate yourself on how the best is doing the best. You know, some people might read fictional books. That's fine and stuff like that. So if you like entertainment and that's what you enjoy to do that. But if you're really trying to be elevate with your life, you got to know what their stories is. You got to, like, this book all day has quotes in here. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki is the forward. He forwarded this book, so that means he approves this book 100%. Tony Robbins wrote a quote in his book and stuff like that, or gave a quote to the author, Russell Brunson. So literally, there are so many things that I've gauged and learned from the book. Whether I read the book, like I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad probably like 4 or 5 times. And every time I read it, I've learned something new. And this time I probably would say I've learned about how we as individuals gotta not worry about the creditors. We gotta just keep on doing what we gotta do, and in time that's gonna push and motivate you to get out of the creditors. You know, so I'm not saying don't pay your bills, but that's a perfect example of what I learned from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. He said, you know, that's the read what you basically pay what's necessary, and if the creditors come, let them keep on knocking. When you ready to pay them, or when you can pay them, you can pay them. But you got to basically create that income producing assets so that you can eventually pay them off and have freed up more money. But in the meantime, don't stress about that and everything. So that's what I learned from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. And Expert Secrets, you know, I believed in I needed to start a movement, and this book gave me confirmation, especially in the beginning of the book, about how when you want to have a mass movement, there comes a point that you can read so much and educate yourself so much, but it's time to shift yourself to actually leading others, you know, and stuff like that. And that's where I stand. I'm going to read these books all day. You know, I know my best friend says all the time, he's like, well, you got to still get to work, you know, and everything like that. You read, and that's fine. Love that you read, but you got to get to work. And he got a point. So now I'm taking it to the next level. Like, I've been reading books actively. I'm almost close to my same amount of books that I've read in the past 2 years within 22. Once I read 22 books, that's what I read in a combination of 2017, 2018. 2017, I only read 10 books. 2018, I read 12 books. So within the next 1 or 2 more books, I'm going to be reading. I've already surpassed what I read within the past 2 years. So I'm growing. My goal is to read 60 books. And in order for me to do that, I'm doing that with a purpose, because my purpose is overall to be a CEO of my business. And it states that reading at least 60 books, going to 6 conferences is the stepping stages of you being an actual CEO. And hey, I'm on my way. And I really believe that. You know, the struggle is real, but I'm going to continue on prospering and continue on going forward and stuff like that and stuff. So I think I basically accomplished my mission today of making sure that you understand doing things with a purpose. And how to do that is going out there and making things happen. Have a game plan. If you remember in one of my lives, I said plan, review, and monitor. And no, plan, execute, and monitor. Meaning you got to plan what you're going to basically do you got to plan without your purpose. Then you got to execute to make that purpose into reality. And then you got to review that purpose to make sure that monitor. You got to review and monitor that purpose so that you can continue on scaling up, continue on elevating. You know, my purpose in life, I definitely want to eventually I want to create 10,000 actual millionaires for me to be a billionaire. So it might take more. I might need to 10x that. But overall, I create that amount of people, I'm definitely on my way to create myself as a billionaire. So if you like what I had to say today, comment, share, and most of all, continue on watching. Thank you for watching episode 8. Stay tuned for what I got in store next. You guys have a blessed one. I'm going to tag the link of Expert Secrets. I'm going to tag the books of anything else that I had to say from my Passion Warrior group. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And continue on helping me increase my subscribers. You guys have a blessed one. Peace.